Hello, my name is Gabriel Johns from Punk Globe magazine, and I'm here today to interview Derrick Ogrodny from Heavy Medication Records, and we're waiting for him to come on. He put on this great show in Las Vegas with the Dogs, Pat Todd, and the Rank Outsiders, Neverland Ranch Davidians, and Tramp for the Lord. So I'm wondering how that all came about, and he's going to answer that for us. So let's wait for him to come on. Okay. Hope you're all doing good today. And this is a Ginger Coyote publication, and she's been around for quite some time, and it's just great. Subscribe to it, donate to it, and do whatever you can for it, because it's a really great magazine, and I really feel honored to be participating and able to write and do these Zoom interviews. So we're just waiting for Derrick right now. Let's see. Hopefully he'll be here soon. Mhm. Any moment now. And interesting enough, he's in Warsaw, Poland, which is more interesting that he brings a show to America for a record company he owns over in Europe, and it's just really cool. So I'm going to admit him right now, and he's coming on. Hey, Derrick.
Hey Gabriel, how you doing? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Good, 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 good. You look and sound great. Hey, let me get one thing off my chest. You're from
Uh-huh.
Chicago?
Yeah, yeah, and
Wow.
I noticed on Facebook you're also from Chicago.
I'm from Chicago too.
I was going to ask you about that.
I was born there, but I go back there a lot because I have relatives over there. And I
Yeah,
was born in Cook County Hospital, which is not even there anymore. And yeah.
yeah, I spent half my life there until like '96, until I moved to Poland,
Wow.
which and I used to go back like twice a year. Now, I was just there in August, obviously for the Las Vegas show, and visited my parents, and my wife is also from Chicago. So I think we'll probably go back at least once a year now because we have added motivation to go see our respective families. And but
Wow.
yeah, the
What
Chicago
made
Polish.
what made you move to Poland, to Warsaw?
Well, um, I was a youngin, and I was working at the time for a Polish TV program. My background is film and TV production. And I was
Mhm.
working for a Polish TV program in Chicago as an editor, and I got wind of a music TV channel starting in Poland. It was Poland's first Polish language music TV channel called Atomic TV, and it was started by a couple of guys from Chicago and Bob Geldof. And my boss in Chicago had become GM there, and he said, "Hey, we're looking for creative people, and maybe you'd like to come out and work for us for a while." And I was looking for something more creative and kind of some kind of adventure, and I've been here ever since. It's just one of those things where I thought it was going to be a 6 month adventure, and it's been 26 years.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. How did heavy medication come into existence?
Uh, Having a record label was kind of a dream of mine since high school, more or less from the time that I discovered underground music and punk rock and labels like SST and Alternative Tentacles. And I just started noticing how a lot of the records that I really liked, they all seemed to be on the same labels. And I thought to myself, well, there's obviously someone there with good taste who's curating this and putting this stuff out. And that would be really cool to do one day. And fast forward to 2018, and I was talking to I had two friends actually. Most indie labels begin because either someone has a band and they're looking for a way to release their own music because no one else will, and so they start a label. Or you have friends who have bands and who are looking for someone to release their material, and you decide to do that for them. Well, since I'm not a musician, the latter was the case here, and I had two friends who had material that they were working on, and they played me demos of it, and I thought, well, okay, well, let's give this a shot. And I was at a stage where I could do it financially, and I felt there were enough cool local bands that I could start doing that. And so I just kind of did it on let's see where this goes. And that was well, middle of 2018. That's kind of when I placed the order for we're actually sent money out and ordered a vinyl record. It's actually this. This was the first release by a Warsaw band called Poison Heart.
Wow,
And
nice.
and that was so because it was an idea I'd been kicking around, but from the moment I actually put money into it, I said, well, that's now I've officially started a label. No turning back.
Right, right, right. Are they still around, Poison Heart? I imagine they are.
Yes, they are. We did they've done the LP, which was actually it was like their fifth release. I think second full-length release, and maybe third, I can't even remember anymore. And probably they're working on another one as well, so they're still on the label. Yeah. And
Nice.
then it began with it started with those friends bands, and then friends of those friends bands started getting in touch with me, and some of that stuff I put out. And then suddenly bands I really like, whose records I have had on the shelf, started getting in touch with me. And I thought, well, I must be doing something right, because I'm getting the words getting out, and and up until like what's going on now.
Right, right. How did you do the Vegas show? The Pad Todd and Rank Outsiders, the Dogs, Neverland Ranch Davidians, and Tramp for the Lord. How did they come to you? Did they come to you? Did you come to them? Do you seek out bands and say, hey, wow, this is a cool band. I want to come and do something with them?
Yeah, they come from various sources. Sometimes I will reach out to a band. Sometimes it's a band that's already on a label, but we talk about doing maybe an EP or a 7-inch or something like that, or maybe a compilation track. Other times, bands reach out to me, and in the case of Pat Todd, it's an interesting story, and I think Pat mentioned it in the interview with you. It's actually my wife. Well, at that time she was my girlfriend. For my 50th birthday, wrote to a bunch of my friends and family members to record a little video greeting for me. And she knew how much I loved. I was a huge Lazy Cowgirls fan, still am. And Pat's one of my absolute favorite singer-songwriters out there. And she knew that, and she just wrote to Pat on Facebook, and I think she got his guitarist Nick.
Yeah.
And said, my boyfriend's such a huge fan. It would mean a lot to him if you could, wish him a happy birthday. And Pat was like, why not? And that's really how I got to know Pat. I'd seen the Lazy Cowgirls on their, I think it was the Ragged Soul tour in the early 90s in Chicago. It was the only time I'd ever seen Pat live. And so, after he recorded that, I got in touch with him and to say thanks, and I'm the guy you recorded it for. And I've got a label and stuff. And then Pat one day wrote and said, would you be interested in doing a 7-inch? Because he had that was this one that we released.
Yes.
You might be through with the past, but the past ain't through with you.
Uh-huh.
And we did that, and Pat and I started talking just regularly, just talking about music, life, ranting about various things that piss us off, and we just kind of became friends. And then my girlfriend, then fiance, decided we were going to get married in August of this year in Vegas. And by that point, I had already met Tex from the Neverland Ranch Davidians through Pat. They came through Pat. I had also met Lauren from the Dogs through Pat. And then through Tex, I met Doug Cox of Tramp for the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved all of their material. And so once we decided my wife Vanessa and I were going to get married in Vegas, I let Tex and Pat know that, we're going to be in Vegas. If you guys want to drop by, just hang out with us, whatever. Just letting you know that's, we're going to be here from this date to this date. I think it was Tex who had the idea, like, hey, why don't we do a gig the night of your wedding?
Wow.
And he talked to the Double Down Saloon, famous Vegas dive bar, where he played a zillion times with various bands, and they were up for it. Pat was up for it, and then I kind of casually mentioned it to Lauren, and he said, well, Mary, our bass player, she lives in Vegas, we want to be on the bill. Okay, so then the Dogs were on the bill, and then I mentioned it to Doug Cox, and he said, oh, we'd love to play too. Well, 4, that was the maximum we thought that we could possibly handle that night.
Man, what a story. I didn't know any of that. Yes, except through Pat for when he mentioned that.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. Wow.
Yeah, and so it was our, wedding reception / open to the public show. And I thought, well, okay, since we're all here in the same place, let's use this opportunity to promote the label and call it the Heavy Medication Showcase. And then as a result of that, I guess was it you who heard about it, and then it got. They told me, I know that night, that the Sugar Mill was interested in doing a
Yes.
copy of the same lineup, and so that's how that happened.
Yeah, it's interesting how the spin-off from Vegas to Los Angeles, that word got around about this. I was really impressed. I emceed the show. And did you know Bob, the original drummer from Lazy Cowgirls, played that night?
Oh, was he playing with the Rank Outsiders?
Well,
Or who's he
Walter, the original drummer, he
Right.
lived in, I think, Oregon, and he
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
get down this time. But Bob, the original Lazy Cowgirls drummer, filled in.
Wow. I noticed that on the video I think you posted, that there was it wasn't Walter, and I was going to ask Pat. I haven't talked to him yet, but I was going to ask him, so who was sitting in on drums, because I figured maybe Walter couldn't make it down. Wow,
Yeah,
that's wild.
yeah, it was pretty wild. Everybody loved that. He was most welcomed.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. I emceed the. You had 2 people from Warsaw, Poland there.
Yeah, our friends Malvina and Wojtek.
Would
They
you
would
please
just
apologize to them? Because I meant to give them a shout out and I didn't. I was on
oh
stage. I go, oh my God. And they were sitting, I was kind of like almost sitting at their table.
uh-huh.
And I was just like looking at them and I go, okay, must be fans of Pat Todd and all that. And
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
thought they were, and I wanted to welcome them and all that. So please apologize to them.
Oh, I will mention it to them. Yeah, they're friends from Warsaw. They currently live in the Netherlands, and when they saw me posting stuff about the show, they said, "Oh my God, we're going to be in LA. We got tickets to just they just went to visit for the first time." Wow. So of course they went to the show, and I said, "Yeah, go and meet the bands. You'll have a good time."
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I just felt like an idiot. I go, wow, I didn't mention.
It's okay.
The Lord something happened and they couldn't do the show. So
yeah, I haven't heard what happened, but
we really miss them. So we miss you, Doug. And yeah, so where's this going?
Well, currently, by some weird stroke of luck, I have 6 bands from LA currently on the label. After the first single with Pat, then I got Joe Jennings from JJ and the Real Jerks got in touch with me. We put out a 12-inch well, it was a COVID record project, because he recorded it mostly himself during lockdown. Really fantastic record. And then also, we haven't really announced this yet, but I'm in talking to Frank from the Streetwalking Cheetahs. Okay. So we're going to probably do a few things together. The first thing that we'll do is they released a double CD of covers, right? Exactly. So I'm going to do a single disc version on vinyl of that. I'm not sure what we'll call it, because the CD's called All the Covers and More. So this is like some of the covers and less, but we're going to work on that. And we did a second single with Pat, which I guess they were selling at the show. It was kind of the premiere of it.
Exactly.
Down on 7th Avenue. And there's also going to be the next thing with Pat is going to be a split 7-inch with Gorilla Teens, Scott
Scott Drake.
Deluxe Jakes. Yep, his new band, and it's going to be a split 7-inch tribute to Exile on Main Street, with each of them doing a song off of Exile. So
I love that. That's amazing. What are you doing with the dogs? You're
with
releasing hypersensitive?
yes, for those who don't know the let's see, I got that link. There it is. So the dogs, can't reach it. I don't know where it is. So the dogs have been active since about, or reactivated since about, I think about 2000, something like that. And in 2012, they recorded an album called Hypersensitive, which they only released on CD and we're only selling at gigs. And I think it's a fantastic album. When we started, and I don't think it ever got any, promotion or didn't get any reviews. It's just sort of there, and if you go on Discogs, you'll find it there. I think I'm the only one actually selling it because I got some copies off of Lauren to sell in Europe, and of course the Dogs fans jumped on it immediately because they won't be able to see the Dogs in LA anytime soon. So, anyways, and so when Lauren and I talked. I thought it would be a good idea to start with some of the older material, and that was a record that, like I said, it just never got it's got any attention. It's sort of a lost album, I would say. And I thought, well, that's a great starting point, and also maybe an opportunity to, I told him I'd like to do an essay on why the Dogs still matter. It's because there's probably a lot of people who don't know, A, they're still playing, B, that band that's playing is the Slash Your Face Dogs, as opposed to the 15 other bands with the same name.
Right.
And just kind of put them in some kind of context and just ignite the spark under them. And we'll see where that goes. And I'd like to do more. I'm a big fan of the band. And so we'll see where that's going to lead us.
I love Laura. I'm very close with Lauren.
And the Slam Denistas.
Oh yeah. That too. But he's been a friend of mine for quite some time. And he's just such a great guy, just a great guitar player, great performer, great wit, really smart. And now Triumph for the Lord, what are you doing with them?
Well, originally what happened was I think Doug sent through this was through text this time, sent 2 tracks, new tracks that he'd record, or maybe it was the 4 tracks, but they were looking to do a single. And I kind of listened to it, and I love traditional country and alt country and all of its different forms. And I liked what he sent, but I thought to myself, well, no, I'm not going to, I don't know how I'm going to sell this. I don't even know how to promote it, because my normal avenues of people I would send it to, they don't review that kind of stuff. And then, so I just kind of like let that simmer for a while. And then I think Doug sent me he had 3 EPs on that he put out on CD, and he sent them to me to Warsaw. And I think I had COVID at the time when those arrived. And so I had plenty of time to listen to that stuff. And I found myself just, I ripped them to my laptop, and I just found myself listening to those tracks over and over, and I couldn't stop listening to them. They were so wonderful. And
I love Doug. I love the stuff he puts out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think he's got a very unique perspective of the world and voice, not in terms of singing, but that too, but also just in his lyrics and worldview. And he just brings out his music's very evocative, and it hypnotized me. And I thought, well, if I'm reacting to that way, I think more people should hear it. And so originally what we thought about was doing sort of a compilation of tracks from those three releases.
Right.
And then he mentioned he's got some new songs that he wants to record in the studio. So we haven't really finalized. I don't know if he started on that. And so we haven't kind of finalized the track list, but I would assume it will probably be some new tracks, some older tracks. And, I just think that more people need to hear about them. And
cool.
I already have one former Hangman on the label, so make it a pair.
Let's talk about Neverland Ranch Davidians. I saw them this past Saturday night at the Heavy Medication Showcase. at Maui Sugar Mill Saloon, and I was sitting there. Now I've seen them many times before, and I'm like looking at them, going, "What is it about this band that is so good? What is it?" I didn't understand. Two guitars and a drummer, no bass player. But they had something going on and all that, and it just smacked me in the head. I go, man, this is Arthur Lee reincarnated, Arthur Lee of Love. Um,
Yeah,
just like I go,
that's an
man,
interesting perspective.
and then I started hearing Hendrix, like some Hendrix rhythms going, some really choppy rhythms going on. I go, wow, that is so Hendrix, so Arthur Lee. This is just great, and he just sounds like um
Yeah,
to his in his own way. I just love Tex, man. He's so
yeah,
good.
yeah. The first material I got from Tex was EP that they had recorded with a different. I don't think Will, the other guitar player. I don't think he was in the band yet. And you could find those on Bandcamp, or I think they're on Spotify possibly too, or SoundCloud. But and I love what they had recorded then, but I think they're way further ahead now. So that was kind of the tracks that got me into the Davidians, or got me interested. And then Tex just started sending me other songs that they had worked on, and I just got deeper and deeper into it. And I think from our talks, I think it was a really productive period for the band, and he was always sending me new stuff. And I said, you know what? I think originally we had talked maybe an EP or a single. And I said, we got enough for an album. Let's do an album.
Nice.
And so I had all this material. I had about, I don't know, 18 to 20 songs. And I started just kind of like, mixing them up and trying to figure out how to make an album out of it. And I finally found the golden formula. I think it works really good as an album.
Nice.
And I can't remember how many songs are on the album itself. Probably at least 12 or 13. So there's a few extras there that just didn't make it on there. But I think it's a fantastic album. I never thought of it as like an Arthur Lee thing, but I can hear that. I think I played it for a friend of mine, the album, and he said, yeah, it's the missing link between Bo Diddley, Suicide, and psychedelic era Cramps. I thought that was a pretty
I like
pretty
that.
cool,
I like that
pretty
too.
cool. Yeah, the two guitar interplay, and
Mhm.
playing those just kind of voodoo riffs, and
Yes.
uh, and some of the occasionally tribal beats, the voodoo beating out the voodoo rhythms on the skins. And it's, I think in other bands have probably, there's probably a bunch of bands you could say they sound like, like I think I referred to them as Blues Explosion, as filtered through Stax Records.
Hmm.
They go beyond just like a lo-fi garage sound. It's
Yes.
I think the songs are really good, and their interplay is really good. And Tex is I think, phenomenal vocalist.
Yes.
And there's elements of soul and R&B and funk in the songs, and no two songs are alike. That's another thing. It's like so it's sometimes a bit hard to describe them. You have to kind of experience them, and I think it's going
Yes, I
to
agree with you on that. Yes, definitely.
yeah. And I think
They're
and I think
love. I'm Carrie going.
I was just going to say, I think it's going to, that it'll attract attention just because they're different. They stand out from a myriad other bands. It's not to say other bands are better or worse or whatever, but I found it from running a label that it's the easy part is putting a record out. The hard part is getting people to actually listen to it, and especially
Exactly.
if it's a new band, it's just really hard to get people just to, hey, just listen to this one track, and
Yeah.
pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So I think in the right hands, it'll make some waves.
Yeah, I think so because they got a good following. Everybody who comes to see them are very into them. Not like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
yeah, oh yeah, Neverland Ranch Davidians are playing. They're like, fuck, I got to see this band.
sure.
And
Even my friends from Warsaw, that was the Davidians was one of the bands that they remember from that night, and that really stuck out for them. And also in Vegas, having my some of my friends and my sister and her husband there, and they were all floored, by the Davidians that night. So
right.
I really, I'm not expecting I think more again, most of the time when I decide to release anything is because I want more people to hear it. And I'm a good cheerleader for
I
bands if I
love
really
that,
like them.
man. That is, we need more people like that, promoting our local scene and all of that
Yeah.
worldwide, not just like, hey, this is a great band. It's just like, I love doing that. I love promoting bands. I love promoting my friends who are really good. It just, I hats off to you for doing such a great job on doing that. I love that.
Thanks.
And what can we expect more from heavy meditation in America? What can we look forward to besides
Mm,
more band singles, EPs and LPs that are coming out?
well, we've got uh it's a mini LP, I would call it, from a band from, well, they're now in Houston. They were from New Orleans, called Tongue Action. It's got former members of Killer Hearts and Electric Frankenstein. Really great songs. I guess that's at the heart of everything I like. It's just really great songs and melodies and stuff that just sticks in your ear. Let's see, we've got in terms of stuff from the States. Um,
Doesn't necessarily have to be from the States. Just
yeah,
what can we look forward to hearing from you?
putting out I have a 10-inch EP from a band from Montreal called Jonesy that are on Deadbeat Records. We got an EP, 10-inch EP coming out from them. Do you know the band The Primevals? They're a Scottish band. So they've been around since like the mid 80s. They were on Neuros back in the day. Sort of I guess they kind of started out kind of really gun clubby and crampsy. They're almost kind of like New Christs to me now. They have this
I
really full.
I think Rodney Bingenheimer still plays them.
Really? Okay.
Or
A
I've
great band.
either I've heard them on that or Palmero Del Rand's I've heard them on Sirius.
I'm sure you have. They still record, so they've got a gazillion releases. So we're working on their new album, which will come out. I don't have a release date yet, but we've got the artwork ready and and all the tracks are mixed. So that just has to go to the pressing plant, and that'll be LP and CD. I'm working on, and this is an example of a band I reached out to. It's a band I really love out of Adelaide, in Australia, called the Meat Beaters, and they're sort of like Cosmic Psychos, maybe a little bit more Motorheady, and maybe a little bit of like later period Poison Idea in their sound. So if you like stuff like Cosmic Psychos or Grindhouse or the Anyas,
Right.
it's
Are they
right up
on the
your
label?
alley. And Adelaide, yeah.
Are they on the label?
They've recorded mainly on they've been on Dirty Flair, which is a local label for them.
Okay, got it.
And so a lot of the releases have just come out in Australia. The first three full length records came out only on CD, and I thought, wow, I want to do a best of, introduce this band to European and North American audiences. I think they're great, and so we're working on that at the moment as well. Don't know when that's coming out yet, but we've already got the track list, and
Right.
the artwork's going to start soon, and so that'll be interesting. Again, that's one that I reached out to because I just love them so much, and I thought, but more people have to hear this. And anyone I've turned them on to, um, or I should say, anyone I turned them on to, anyone I've turned on to the Meat Beaters, so I want to say, are crazy about them. So I kind of feel like, well, great, there's a lot of bands from Australia lately have been making international waves, so why not do it for them? Let's see, what else have we got? Those are off the top of my head, the ones I can remember.
Great, well,
Of course, the Street Walking Cheetahs thing, which I mentioned earlier,
we
we might
got
do an EP as
forward to
well.
all of this. Really looking forward to all of that that's coming out. Is there anything you want to say about Heavy Medication Records before we end it? Just to let you know, this is going to be, I'm reviewing the show, the Heavy Medication Showcase at Maui Sugar Mill Saloon. I'm
Yeah.
reviewing that show, and embedded will be this article, will be this interview in the
Okay.
review.
Well, hopefully, I would like to come out to the US again in the summer. So I'd like to be able to repeat the Los Angeles showcase and maybe get some of the other bands that I've mentioned, like the Cheetahs on the bill. By that time, the Dogs reissue should be out. The split, Pat split with the Gorilla Teens should be out, so maybe we can get them to come down as well. Maybe do 2 nights. We'll see what happens because there's just so much, just a hotbed of musical activity there. I should open an office and just split my time flying back and forth and go broke.
If I can do anything for you, let me know.
Okay,
I'm
sure.
really honored to meet you, and it was really great talking to you. I love this whole thing that you're creating. It's just reminds me of old school rock and roll, uh,
Yeah.
coming out
Well,
of the basement, and it's wonderful.
someone has to keep it alive because it'll just die out, and it's because of bands or labels that really they do it because they love it that are keeping it alive, and hopefully people still come out to the shows, because obviously without the fans it just doesn't work at all.
Yeah,
And you know I never it's just a great adventure and I enjoy doing it, and it's my contribution. It's me paying back all these great bands who got me into the music and brought me so much joy and still continue to bring me so much joy that I thought, well, this is my contribution to
wow.
the scene, and let's keep it alive.
I love that. I love that. Derrick, pronounce your last name. See if I said it
Oh,
right.
Ogrodny.
Ogrodny. I said it
Yeah,
right. Okay.
yeah.
Very good. Very good. Hey, it was great speaking with you. Keep up the great work. I love that, man. And thank you for coming on and sharing this with us. Okay. And thank you for putting on those shows. And I'm looking
Thank
forward to
you.
more shows.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to attend them. I
Yeah.
wish I wasn't so far
You let
away.
me know
And
when you come out. Okay.
no,
Definitely.
for sure,
Keep it
for
on.
sure.
No, we're going to stay in touch. So, and if anything I can do for you here that will help you promote, you just let me know.
Great. Well, thank you, Gabriel, for inviting me to the show. And
This is Gabriel Johns for Punk Globe Magazine, a Ginger Coyote publication, speaking with Derrick Ogrodny from Heavy Medication Records. Say goodbye.
see you later, everybody.
Take care.
Bye bye.